The reason that you are not yet in the top 1% is not because you're not disciplined enough. It's because you are not delusional enough. Most people stay stuck because they think that they need more hard work or more opportunities in life to succeed. But the honest truth is that it is your habits and your mindset that actually create the right opportunities for you. You are held back because you still identify as the average version of you. The one who plays it small, the one who hesitates and waits for approval. And your habits match that identity. But the top 1% women, they operate with a delusional level of self-belief. They live like their dream life is already theirs. And of course, their life eventually agrees with it. So in this video, I am breaking down the 7 mindset and lifestyle shifts that the top 1% operate with and that have transformed everything for me. My career, my confidence, my outcomes. And if you are ready to stop shrinking and to start stepping into the person that you know you can be, let's start with habit number 1. Strategic underscheduling. I think most people stay stuck because they have created this completely incorrect picture of what the top 1% life actually looks like. For the longest time, I also thought it meant non-stop hustle and always working, always on, always prioritizing productivity over everything else. But that could not be further from the truth. The real top 1% value one thing above everything else, and that thing is time. They treat time like their biggest asset. Because it is, and they spend it only on what truly moves the needle. This does not mean that they never have long days or they don't have intense periods in their life. It means that they optimize their life so that long days are not the norm, because you cannot build a top tier life from a burnt out nervous system. The one thing that is common in most top 1% people is that they are decision makers and they are paid to make good decisions. So for them, intentional underscheduling is not laziness, it's leverage. And when you look closely, you will see this pattern everywhere. Taylor Swift is known for fiercely protecting her creative and emotional energy. So in between tours and album cycles, she has something called dead days, which is basically days she spends recovering between concerts, and this involves completely resting in her hotel room except for meals. Selena Gomez famously stepped back from her career during a time of extreme overwhelm and health issues to focus on her health, and then she came back stronger. She returned with bigger, more purpose-driven work like Only Murders in the Building and Rare Beauty, both of which have been massive successes internationally. To give you even more examples, Elon Musk, for instance, replies to emails with single words or single sentences because not everything deserves the same time budget. Naval Ravikant, who is one of my favorite people to read in this regard, outsources anything that costs less than his hourly rate because efficiency is the goal, not busyness. The top 1% do not win because they do the most. They win because they protect the energy that creates the most. And a part of protecting that time and that energy is to leave what is familiar. If you want to grow, if you really want to see what you are capable of, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to leave your home. And by that, I don't mean romanticizing moving into a 1 BHK with fairy lights. You can do that absolutely if you want to. But what I mean when I say leave your home is that at some point in your life, you have to stop being run by the system that raised you. And for most women, home isn't just an address. It's a decision-making system. What is acceptable, what is safe, what is realistic, how much you're allowed to want. The top 1%, including the ones who are born into money, they break out of this system. Some people do it by physically moving out of their house. Others do it by stepping into arenas where their family name or comfort or inherited lifestyle cannot do the heavy lifting for them anymore. And that is what leaving home really means. It basically removes the automatic safety net that you have grown up with. You face the consequences of your actions. It forces you to make real decisions about money, about work, about people, about your own time. It builds self-trust because you see proof that you can handle things on your own. In psychology, this is based on a concept called self-efficacy, which is the belief that you can figure things out by yourself. And you will never build that belief when everything is decided for you, when everything is cushioned or solved for you. That is why even people born into privilege still have to leave their home in a different way, by taking bets where their comfort zone cannot protect them. Take Priyanka Chopra, for example, right? She could have stayed in India, she could have cashed in on the fame that she had already achieved forever and lived a very, very comfortable life, very predictable, very famous life. But she walked away from a system where she was untouchable and entered one where she was a nobody practically. New country, new industry, new rules. That wasn't just a career move, it was her leaving the home system that guaranteed her importance to build something more meaningful for herself. For you, this could look like moving out when you can, hostel, flat, PG, new city, or before that is even possible, managing your own money, taking solo decisions, standing up to your parents if that's needed, or working or studying in spaces your family doesn't control, traveling without being micromanaged, building a life outside the four walls of your house. The real shift happens happens when your life stops being something that's happening to you inside your family system and starts becoming something that you're actively building, even if you're still sleeping in the same room. Top 1% women do not just leave home, they leave the version of themselves that can only exist inside it. And to be able to do that, to be able to exist outside of your identity inside your home, you have to learn something super important. You have to learn how to advocate for yourself. Because women are taught to be everything. They're taught to be kind, agreeable, polite, responsible. They're taught to be not too loud. They're taught to be not too full of themselves. The only thing they're not taught is to speak up for themselves. And who exactly am I supposed to be full of, right, if not myself? So this is the pattern that top 1% women break. They are unapologetically clear. They advocate for their rights, their boundaries, their desires, and of course, their achievements. They do not shrink themselves because it is making other people uncomfortable. I'm going to share something that happened very, very recently that made me realize how deep this conditioning runs. I was recently telling a female friend about a personal realization that in my entire family and extended family on both sides of my parents, I'm currently probably the most professionally successful person in my generation. And the fact that I'm a woman makes it even more amazing. I was really happy about the fact that I've been able to break out of that mold and, achieve whatever I have achieved so far in life. And I was not saying this as a flex or to belittle anyone. I was just sharing a realization and the fact that I was proud of myself. And instead of celebrating that or even acknowledging it, this person immediately said, "You shouldn't say that. It makes you sound egoistic." And for a second, I actually paused and questioned myself. But then I thought, so what? So what if I sound egoistic? I think more women need this audacity. We need to be able to talk about our achievements without feeling ashamed that we are ruffling feathers. If a man had said the same thing, we would have called him ambitious. If a woman says it, she's too full of herself. This is why learning to advocate for yourself matters, because when women don't speak about their work, their progress, their skills, their wins, society doesn't magically just fill in the blanks with good things. Society simply assumes that they are worth less. Advocating for yourself is not arrogance, and when you look at top 1% women, CEOs, founders, creators, artists, you will notice one common thread. They own their accomplishments without diluting them. They talk about their work, they talk about their effort, they talk about what they've built, and they don't apologize for wanting more. Your brain builds identity around what you speak aloud. When you advocate for yourself, you reinforce self-trust, you reinforce self-belief, your self-worth, you train your mind and the world to take you seriously. So if you've watched till here, I want you to speak your wins, ask for what you want, defend your boundaries, correct people who underestimate you, talk about your work without shrinking it, and celebrate yourself without waiting for permission to do so. And do it. All of this over and over and over again, because top 1% women do not become or get to the top 1% by staying quiet. They get into the top 1% because they refuse to disappear. Now, I know that all of this is easier said than done, but have you ever wondered why so many women struggle with taking risks, with trying new things out, with putting themselves out there? It has nothing to do with ability, but it has everything to do with conditioning. From the time that we're young, girls are raised to be perfect. Perfect behavior, perfect grades, perfect decisions, don't mess up, don't draw attention, don't be wrong. Meanwhile, boys are allowed or even encouraged to experiment, to break things, to fall, to get up, try again. And as a result, guess what happens? Men grow up believing that mistakes are a part of the process. But women grow up believing that mistakes are a character flaw. And that is why women fear failure a lot more as adults than men do. Not because we are weaker, but because the penalty for getting things wrong has always been higher for us. I remember when I moved out of my parents' house, I was so afraid of making even one wrong move, because that would mean that I had to move back in and lose my autonomy. And so I worked extra hard to make things work for myself, to ensure that I wasn't failing. And that was one of the biggest reasons that it took me over 5 years just to start my YouTube channel. I've been wanting to do this since 2013. When I started, 2019. But the truth is that the only way to succeed is through failure. Your brain is literally built to learn through trial and error. Psychologists call this experiential learning. Your mind grows stronger every time you try, every time you stumble, you adjust and you repeat. It does not get stronger by waiting, not by overthinking. Only when you take action is when your brain gets stronger, learns to build from failure. That is why top 1% women rise so fast. Not because they're fearless, but because they're willing to look imperfect while they figure things out. A great example of this is Sarah Blakely. She's the founder of Spanx, which is the basis of every single shapewear brand in the world today. So her first prototype was made by cutting her pantyhose. She was rejected endlessly, but every no gave her clues, every no gave her data as to what would work in her business and what wouldn't. Every failed attempt made the next attempt smarter. She did not avoid failure, she leveraged it. Most women, because of our conditioning, we wait to feel ready. I'll start that workout when I'm ready. I'll build that business when I have time. But top 1% women, they understand that readiness is built through action. So if you've been holding back, remember that your fear of failure is not your fault, it's your conditioning. And the only way to break away from it is to move regardless of that conditioning. Do it anyway. Because the women who win are not the ones who avoid failing, they are the ones who stop fearing it. Now, after this, another thing that holds a lot of women back is the belief that our worth is tied to the outcomes we produce. I think this is true for men also to a huge extent, but right now we're talking about women. We are taught that our value lies in getting things right. Good marks, good behavior, good decisions, good outcomes. So naturally, as adults, we start equating success with perfection. And anything that's less than like a perfect result feels like a personal failure. And that is why women often hesitate to take risks. If this doesn't work, I'll be shamed by society. If I don't get that outcome, will I ever be allowed to do that again? And that will just prove to people that I'm not good enough, right? Meanwhile, the top 1% women, they don't operate like this at all. They set goals, absolutely. Their habits align with their results, yes, definitely. But their identity is not tied to how perfectly those results turn out to be. This is the nuance. Your habits should lead to results, right? That is why you're building those habits. But your worth should not depend on the results that you get. You show up with intention, you work smart, you give your best, and then you detach because the outcome is feedback. It is not a verdict on you as a person. It is data. We can all remember Alia Bhatt's example here. Earlier in her career, when she went on that Coffee with Karan episode, she was trolled brutally for not knowing who the President of India is. If she had attached her identity to that outcome, she would have continued to play small forever. Instead, she turned that into a humorous skit and she focused on her craft, not the commentary. She defined her process, not her public image. Today, she has a national award, she has global recognition, all because she cared about the work, not the noise around the work. That is what detachment does. When you detach from outcomes, you basically train yourself to take bolder shots. You stop people pleasing, you grow faster, you actually hit better results because you're not acting from a place of fear. So here is the mindset shift that I need you to make. Let your habits aim for the outcome, but let your worth stay rooted in who you are becoming. That's the top 1% way of winning. It's ambition without desperation. This brings me to habit number 6, building your intuition. Now, I've often heard this advice being repeated in my house. Suno sabki, but karo apni. But the problem is that whenever we try to follow this advice, we are reprimanded, right? We are then reprimanded and said, why did you follow your own head or your mind and not listen to what the elders were saying? And I think I see this pattern in so many Indian households. We are conditioned to be obedient to a fault. So much so that most of us never build our intuition. It starts at home. Girls are raised to be good, to be adjusting, well-behaved. Don't argue, don't question too much, don't push back. And because obedience is praised, something subtle but damaging happens as we turn into adults. For us, compliance starts to feel like the right thing to do. Not because it is right, but because it's familiar. So when we grow up, that conditioning does not fade. It simply shifts from parents, then to teachers, to bosses, to partners, to eventually the whole society. Anyone in a position of authority feels automatically correct. And we learn to silence that tiny voice inside of us that disagrees with that person in the position of authority. This is how women lose touch with their intuition. Not because we don't have it, but because we are taught to override it continuously. And that is exactly what the top 1% women unlearn. They don't reject advice, they don't rebel for the sake of rebelling. They simply refuse to treat authority as the absolute truth. They listen widely to mentors, to peers, to experts, to family, but they filter ruthlessly. And the final decision always comes from their gut. And your gut is not a concept, it's your subconscious decision-making system built through exposure and practice. Your intuition comes from interoception, which is your brain's ability to read internal signals faster than logic can comprehend them. Women actually have higher intuitive accuracy, but obedience conditioning buries it under layers of don't upset anyone and don't get it wrong. My favorite example of somebody listening to their gut is Oprah Winfrey. Her career is built on hearing everybody's inputs, her producers, advisors, executives, but her final choices come straight from instinct. She trusts her gut more than hierarchy. And that is why she's Oprah. So here's what you need to relearn. Listen, yes. Respect guidance, yes. Consider different perspectives, absolutely. But stop treating external authority as your internal truth. Because the more you choose what you feel is right, the louder your intuition becomes. And the louder your intuition becomes, the less you'll need anybody else's approval to build your life. You do not need to be obedient, you just need to be aligned with what you want in life. And this brings me to the final, but probably the hardest habit, which is to keep things to yourself. And I know it's tempting. You set a new goal, you feel that rush, and suddenly you want to tell the whole world. But I'm here to tell you to hold your horses. You look at any successful person, any top 1% person, and you will see that they rarely announce half-baked things. They tell you about something once it has come to life, not while they're still in the middle of it. And the reason is going to surprise you. It's not nazar. It's actually dopamine. Every time you announce your goals too early, your brain gives you a reward. The same dopamine hit that you're supposed to get, in the anticipation of achieving it. So you feel accomplished before you've even done the work. And naturally, your motivation drops. That is why top performers, they protect their plans. They know that new ideas are fragile. They need privacy more than publicity. Think of Beyonce or Taylor Swift dropping a new album, right? They write the entire thing, they do the entire thing without a whisper, and then just before they're about to release the album, they'll start publicizing it. Or look at Rihanna, she quietly built a $1 billion brand before the world even knew. Top 1% people channel their energy into creating, not announcing. And I'm not saying that announcing never works. I know a lot of people build in public, a lot of Twitter entrepreneurs who start building in public and sharing every little step of what they were doing. Personally, for me, that has never really panned out so well. And I really believe in the concept of staying shut till you are ready to make it public, right? So the next time that you feel the urge to post your own vision board or your new routine or your comeback online, the moment you start doing it, pause, nurture it in silence, give it time to grow without the noise and opinions and the pressures of the outside world, because the top 1% don't talk their dream into existence. They build quietly and then let their work speak loudly. And with that, let's go over everything that we have talked about today. Step number 1 is strategic underscheduling. Stop glorifying busyness. Stop filling your calendar every minute of every day with something to do. Top 1% women rest intentionally. They create space to think, to connect, because a cluttered calendar does not mean you're productive. It just means that you're distracted. The second thing you want to do is to leave your home, because growth does not happen in familiar spaces. You have to learn to outgrow what has raised you so far and go after things that will build you further. That can be by physically moving out of your house or by emotionally and mentally checking out with the current version of you. Third is to learn to advocate for yourself. If you don't speak for yourself, nobody else is going to do that either. And we need to learn that kind of audacity from the men in our lives. Even the smallest of things that they do, they talk about it, they speak about it, and it grows stronger. Learn from that, do it for yourself. The next thing you want to do is fail faster. This will train you to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. It will help you treat failure as data points, because only then will you be able to fail, learn, and repeat till you get to the goal that you want to achieve. Next, I want you to detach from outcome. Put your energy into the process and stop tying your worth to the outcome of the process. Again, because the outcome that comes out is feedback. It is not a verdict on who you are. Next, listen to everyone, but do what feels right to you. Collect perspectives, but make your own decisions. Train your intuition to trust your decision making. And finally, keep things to yourself. Not every plan needs a public announcement. Build in silence and let your success make the noise. If you watched till here, I love you guys. And if you are committed to becoming a top 1% woman, I highly recommend you go check out this video next, because we dive deeper in this one. And I'm going to see you guys very, very soon in another one. Bye.